Hello, hello. Welcome to your Productivity Pulse. And today we have a special treat with us. Today we have Renee Hribar, and she is joining me. She is a mother, wife, sales strategist, dedicated friend, avid traveler, and champion for entrepreneurial women building their business. Yay!
Yes.
Welcome, Renee.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. So great. So honored to be here.
I had to laugh a few minutes ago. I went into the waiting room and Renee was waiting for me. It was 3 minutes before, and she said, "I didn't want to be late for the time
Yeah.
lady." And I was thinking, "Ooh, I like that." I could have a t-shirt made just like you have a t-shirt right now. She has a t-shirt on. It says Experts Connect.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what is Experts Connect?
Yes. So there's a brand within my business that talks, it really speaks to the connection and collaboration of women entrepreneurs and how that leads to growth and sales and friendships. And so one of my big pitches online is you can make friends and sales as you grow your business online.
No, but that is, and it is true because that's how we actually met. Was that you were presenting at a conference,
Hmm.
and I was in one of your workshops, and I just thought, "Ooh, I have to meet this woman." She was so sparkly, and I love the way that you just approached business and the way that you approached a life and how you combined those two together. And it was really intentional. And so
Yes.
now, fast forward 5 years
Yeah.
that we've actually met 5 years ago,
Love it.
and now I'm doing so much work on using time more intentionally. And I
Yeah.
thought it really aligned with how you are running your current business
Yeah.
and what it is that you're trying to really accomplish. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you went from you've actually done so many different industry jobs. Many of them have threaded through sales,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But over time, I was curious about how has the way you've used your time in a business way changed, like from when you were like on the street selling telephones, I think it is, right? Maybe you can tell me more about that, and then the progression of as you've grown older, what it is that you've wanted to change in the way you've used your time, and how the difference in your productivity levels have changed.
That's a lot of questions. I like all of them. So how has I guess I can take the first question, which is let's unpack it. How
Yeah.
has my discernment happened? I mean, when I was in my 20s, all I cared about was making money and having fun, right? So I would work 90 hours a week, and the rest of the time I was either sleeping or out with friends. If you would come to my house at that time, I had an apartment, lots of different apartments over time. I had like two things in the freezer. It was like frozen pizza and vodka. That was, and then I just slept and ate and worked, and I did. I made a lot of money. I had a lot of fun, and I did a lot of great things. And then, getting married and settling down, having different priorities, wanting to spend more time with my family. My time discernment changed. I wanted to spend less time at work, but I was still in my 30s pumping. I was still doing a lot of things. I'd started a whole new company. I became a yoga teacher just for fun. I was adding things to my plate, but they were more intentional about the person I wanted to become, not just let's consume life. So then I found out I was having a baby and I decided, okay, well, this is a totally different way to discern how I'm going to spend my time. And so we made a lot of changes in our personal life, my husband and I, so that I could sold the business that I was working in with two other partners and took 5 years off and just a mom. That's it. That's all I had to do. I think now that once my child went to school, everyone was like, "You need something to do. You're busy." Because I'm a high energy person. That's how God made me. My Even from when I was little, they used to call me the Energizer Bunny. Like kids on my street, parents in my neighborhood would have me over their house to play with their kids, to wear their kids out so they could take a nap. It's all tracks, right? I mean, for decades, this is who I am. So when I started in the online space, I decided, well, I want to work with my child at school because I really enjoy being his mom and all the benefits that gives me, all the opportunities for self-development. I mean, they say being an entrepreneur is a fast track to self-development. So is parenting. Combine those two and you're ready to run a Tony Robbins event. I'm so personally developed, do you think?
Yeah.
Until they change. So today I work typically from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. East Coast time, New York time. And other things that filter in throughout that have to just work around my schedule. It's not going to be the other way around. So if I do end up working or doing something work related later in the day, I bet you chances are my kid's otherwise occupied. And it's something I've chosen to do on purpose.
So I love that you have found a way. You've set a blocked time for your working.
Hmm.
Now, what people who may not know you, I mean, is that it feels like you're working all the time though, because if in the online presence you appear to be online all the time,
Right. Well, that's
and so
movie
so
magic.
maybe it is your magic. And so
Movie.
maybe you can share a little bit more about your magic
Yeah.
of how that works for you, because if you're only working, you're not working on the weekends. You're telling me you're not, unless it's a specific event that
Unless
you
I
have to
really want
do.
to. Yeah. If I'm
Yeah, exactly. What is it that you're doing that's allowing you to be able to have that presentation online?
presentation online, I feel like is really easy I mean, you decide what you want to talk about and then you pre-record it, pre-write it, pre-schedule it, and then it goes out. So I mean, half the time when someone's interacting with content of mine online, whether it's my podcast, my book, my public social media content, I've already forgotten that I said it. I'm like, oh yeah, I did it. That's kind of good. All right, I comment back. So I'll spend my time like connecting with the content and the people that are connecting with it as opposed to trying to create content. And so since I've also been doing this online consulting business now for almost a decade, I have a lot of content. So it's very easy for me to pull things off the shelf. For example, as grown women who own a home, if someone comes to our house, we're ready, even if we didn't expect it, right? Like we can whip up a dinner, we can figure out have a nice little place setting, we can figure out how to make up the nice guest room without much ado. But if you had told me someone was coming to my house, or if someone shocked me and like 2 decades ago, I'd have been like, that's it, I'm out. I can't figure this out. This is too hard. So I have the benefit of time and practice. But from a very base level, it is figure out what you want to decide what you're going to talk about, pre-do it. So don't try to do it today. Even if today's the day you feel inspired, today's the day you feel the pressure, today's the day you're like, I gotta post something, I have to have an online presence. Great. Have the inspiration, create the content, and then send it off next week. And then get ahead of
So
it.
So one of the things that you've actually really leaned into is a lot more automation. Is taking the content you have, using some of the technology that's out there right now
Yeah.
to save your time, and using the automation sequencing in order to be able to really reclaim the time that you want, so that that family is your number one priority, and
Mhm.
that you're there for your son
Yeah.
when he needs you, and you're there for yourself when you need time for yourself too.
Exactly. And I'm just going to say this is not new technology. If you want to go on Facebook, LinkedIn, it's as native, right? So it's like since for the last 10 years for sure, you go on there, you just write something and you publish it. And the podcast, same as always, right? So this is not new technology. This is not even me leveraging AI yet. I mean, I did go down from 15 teammates to two because I leveraged AI, because I have SOPs, standard operating procedures. If I do something once, I'm going to document it. And then when I document it, I'm like, well, what part of this can be done by somebody else or by something else, right? Automate, delegate, delete.
So what I'm hearing you say then is that you actually take the time to document these pieces, so that in the end it actually saves you time. And I think that's one of the things that really challenges people, is that they're just running through, they feel like they've got fire coming off the back of their feet, and they're like running, and they're not taking the time like you do to be able to sit down, gather the content, the
Mhm.
process and procedure, and then to be able to use that to actually then in the end take back more time on the other side.
Correct. And this is just to answer your question about how I appear to be online all the time, because that's just the marketing side, right? That's not sales, that's not delivery, that's not offers, that's not any of that stuff. That's just how my business appears to be online all the time. And I think that's the other key discernment is I am not my business. My business does carry my name and face, which is can be a little confusing for people. I'm not my business. I am me. I am a human. My business is an entity and it needs to be publishing and creating all the time, but I don't.
All right. We're going to take a little bit of a segue over
Yes.
into that human part. When you said, I am human,
Yes.
I want to move into the human Renee.
Yes.
You made a mention that at one point in your world,
Yeah.
you decided to become a yoga instructor.
Yes.
Now, what we know of yoga, a meditation movement, what actually shifted you from high powered drinking vodka out of your freezer
In my
to
20s,
becoming a
early 20s, friends. That's not at today. You won't find that at my house today.
no.
I couldn't
So
handle
tell
it.
so tell me, what was the shift that you felt like you needed to move into a place of more quietness and taking time for that?
Yeah. Well, great question. I mean, when I hit the yoga studio floor, I was 33. And so I had spent a solid 12 years, 90 hours a week, like in a sales office, first as an employee, then as an owner. And if you've ever been in a sales office, it's not low energy. It's high energy in every way. In my sales office, over years, I had speakers bigger than me. So you got to have music. And then whenever the team's in, but the team's not always in because they're outside salespeople. And I had, free beer Fridays and pizza party like on Monday nights, like anything to make it exciting and fun and happy because the work we had to do was hard, right? It was emotionally hard. So knowing that is really in hindsight. I knew it was emotionally hard, but it wasn't something that we were talking about. We were in our 20s. We're like, we're going to get rid of this energy in another way. And so in my 30s, why yoga was appealing was because I understood that my nervous system was at 900. And I was like, how do I even relax? If I'm not doing what I used to do, I don't want to do what I used to do to relax. What else do I do? How else do I relax? And so yoga presented itself. It was something I'd always been interested in, but had never gone deep in. The yoga teacher part was because I wanted to deepen my practice. When I was invited to come in as a yoga student to get certified, I was like, I don't want to be a teacher, not of this, but I need to deepen my practice. So that's what I did. And having to teach a little bit was a part of getting the certification. I'm the one who in like, I don't even know what year it was, 2000. I don't even know, early on, or two, three. I was like, let's do yellow.
Those years just fall off our
I know,
heads.
right? Let's do rage yoga. Let's do farting yoga. Let's do swearing yoga. Let's do rage yoga. And the owner of the studio was like, we're not doing that here. I was like, you're missing the boat. And then it comes out later that was all popular. I was like, I was onto something. Anyway.
um, so that was a practice you started when you were 33.
Hmm.
You're now somewhat beyond 33.
Yes.
And you mentioned to me in a conversation we had several weeks ago
Yeah.
that you now do, is it daily meditation before you go to work?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Before I even like get out of bed, I try to do it before I get out of bed. If I get out of bed, then I go back and lay down. And it's different meditations. I mean, I use a free app right now. This is not an ad for them or anything, but it doesn't really matter what the meditation is. Like all things, right? Someone's like, I'm gonna start a podcast. They're like, okay, what mic should I get? What lighting? I'm like, that's great. What are you gonna talk about? So there's a lot of things to factor in when you're going to start something new. But to me, meditation is equivalent to prayer. So this could also be a prayer journal. It could just be journaling. It could be a grateful practice. It could be reading the Bible. It could be any kind of practice that you dedicate to yourself and your mind, because our thoughts control everything.
And how much time do you spend doing that? How much time do you need in order to be able to help that centering piece at the beginning of the day?
Yeah, a minimum of 30 minutes. So I have my first meditation is 30 minutes, and then I try to do a second one depending on how I'm feeling.
In the morning or later on in
In
the
the
day?
morning, in the morning. And yeah, at the afternoon. So if anyone has heard of yoga nidra is like a long shavasana. And if you don't know what shavasana is, it's basically staying awake, just awake, like barely awake. So yoga nidra, shavasana, it is a mindfulness practice that you do during the day, typically, that doesn't put you to sleep. It doesn't wake you up either. It gives you and your body a rest. For example, Einstein has been noted to have taken naps in the afternoon with a ball that would fall into a metal bowl and make a clang so he would wake up if he fell asleep. Because what my yoga teacher taught me was the biggest obstacle of meditation is sleep. Because usually
Interesting.
you're so relaxed, you just fall asleep. But you don't want to fall
That would
asleep. You want to be in that theta state. So I can geek out on
uh,
that if you want to.
well no, I was just laughing. I was just thinking about when I one of my yoga I went to a yoga class when I was pregnant, and all of us used to fall asleep at we would fall just like all these pregnant women would all of a sudden like meditating. Oh, there's one more that fell asleep.
Yep.
We should have all had metal balls just clanking around the
Right.
room.
Right. Einstein was onto something because at that level of mind, you're able to come up with good ideas, you're able to rest, and that rest puts the, ideas or the clarity, right? I have so many things I could do. What do I do next? I have so many ideas. Which one do I focus on? So those are constantly questions that I think as entrepreneurs we are deciding. And a lot of this has been about discernment. What do we decide to do next?
Absolutely. And taking that and then being intentional. So I've got another question for you.
Yes.
You get an afternoon off.
Hmm.
Somebody says, "Oh, here's your magic afternoon, Renee.
Yeah.
You've got these few hours. Your son is off like hanging out with his buddies.
Yeah.
Your husband is doing something else,
Right.
and you've got this time for yourself.
Hmm.
What do you do? What do you do with that time?"
Depends on what city I'm in. If I'm in Barcelona, I'm going to go for a walk along the beach. If I'm in Detroit, I would like to go downtown, but it would depend on the day because it's not always fun. There's got to be things going on. I would phone up a friend, say, "Hey, let's meet for a coffee." There's where I live personally in Detroit, there's not a lot of out like woods, like you have beautiful forest by you. So I guess it depends
Yes.
on what city I am in, but it would be about going out, I guess is the answer.
Okay.
And that is because I'm an extra extrovert.
All right. So I've got two last questions today as we wrap up our interview.
Yes.
Number one, do you recall your first timepiece or your first watch?
Ooh, I do. It was a watch that my grandmother used to wear, and gave it to me. She let me use it. It had like a little, I don't know if it was leather or pleather strap, but you had to like, like a belt buckle, like strap it on. It was a delicate little face. I don't even know where it is now. I'm sure I broke it. God knows I'm like a bull in a china shop. But I do. I do. It was really cute. And then I ended up getting after that Swatch watches because that was the era.
That was
Had
a
to
big
get
thing,
them.
those Swatch watches, that's for sure. But I love that you have a memory of connecting time with something that was given to you by your grandmother.
Yes.
And that's such a beautiful piece, just to bring to us. Um, as we wrap up today, I've got a question for you. Book, song, movie, what is something one that when you think about it has something to do with time that just pokes out at you like oh, like Time in a Bottle, or like a movie that's time related, something that just sticks out for you that you remember.
I love movies or shows or books about time travel. It always interests me. I love, I know that it's fictional and fantasy, but I love the idea. You can even say like Back to the Future. It could be just a really fun one that we could all kind of get behind and understand. I love the idea that we have power over time. And, to a certain degree, we do.
It's true. And one last question, because it just came to me, because
Yes.
that's the great part.
Yes.
Is if you could go back and actually go back in time
Yeah.
and talk to your previous self, maybe in your, I don't know, in your 20s or in
Mm.
your 30s, about how to use your time in a different way. What one suggestion would you give to her?
Mm. I would say keep learning. My parents were and still are entrepreneurs, and so although formal academia, they have their education, and I did too, but not only to the bachelor's degree. Like and I did pursue my education, my master's in theology, but I didn't finish, and so I had a little bit of shame. I still have a little bit of shame around that. Like I should have finished. But it's just keep learning, and it doesn't always have to be in formal academia. But and so that would be what I would whisper. Keep learning. Not that I'm not a lifelong learner, I am, but I think the formality of education and professional development, going to conferences to learn, not just to connect, which is what I do like to do. Reading books to learn, building on our skills. That's what I would say. Keep learning, building your skills, like tangible, quantifiable skills.
Excellent. Thank you, Renee. So just wrapping up then, keep learning,
Yes.
expand ourselves, always connect when we can, take our time to connect with other people. And when it's time in your life to put family first, use the automation that's out there. Use some of the technology that already exists
Yeah.
to be able to allow yourself to give you and your family more time together.
Yeah. I mean, dishwashers, there's an example, right? Or, I don't, I mean, we have refrigerators. We don't have to go to the lake, chop the ice, bring it back, have an ice box, right? Like we've been using technology for eons. Why not continue to use this? It doesn't diminish the value of your content if that's what people are concerned about.
Well, thank you, Renee, so much for sharing your productivity journey. There we go. Let's
Yes.
say it out loud with me and with my audience today. So
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
What a great opportunity it was to speak with Renee Hribar. If you'd like to learn more about the work she does as an online sales strategist and connector extraordinaire, check out the show notes where Renee is offering a free 5-day mini sales course delivered straight into your inbox. Learning something new is always time well spent. Thank you so much for spending your time with me on this episode of Your Productivity Pulse. If today's conversation sparked a moment of action or reflection, I invite you to keep that momentum going. More practical strategies designed to enhance productivity, reduce stress, and weave balance back into your life can be found by joining my newsletter at vanartexpression.com. Once there, just head over to your Productivity Pulse podcast page to sign up, or you can find the link in the show notes. Remember, intention plus accountability equals productivity. Until next time, keep listening to your pulse.